The outcast assignment, the gleaming spires of Galactic Defense Union headquarters stretched into the purple sky of Centauri Prime, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the light of 3 suns. Captain Alina Vasquez stood in the vast reception hall, her worn Earth Navy uniform looking shabby compared to the elegant bioarmor worn by the alien delegates around her. The HFY representatives glided past on their tentacle-like appendages, their chittering voices expressing what she could only assume was amusement at the human presence. The tall, graceful Ethon officials moved with liquid precision, their silver skin catching the light as they deliberately avoided making eye contact with her. Alina had been waiting for 3 hours. 3 hours of being ignored, dismissed, and treated like an unwelcome guest at a diplomatic function she had every right to attend. Her crew waited outside in the shuttle bay, probably wondering if their captain had been arrested or simply forgotten. She checked her chronometer again and was about to demand an audience when a holographic projection flickered to life in front of her. High Admiral Zexthor of the HFY materialized before her, his massive form towering even in projection. His 4 eyes regarded her with what she had learned to recognize as barely concealed contempt. Behind him, she could see the gleaming bridge of his flagship, a vessel so advanced that it made human technology look like stone tools. Captain Vasquez, Zextel's voice came through the universal translator with mechanical precision. The Council has reviewed humanity's request for frontline combat assignment in the war against the Devourers. Alina straightened her shoulders. Humanity had been part of the Galactic Defense Union for 5 years now, but they had been relegated to supply runs and rearguard duties. Every human military officer in the galaxy had been pushing for a chance to prove themselves in real combat against the biomechanical horrors that were consuming entire star systems. The Council has decided to grant your request, Zextel continued, and Alina felt her heart leap. You will be assigned to the RSV Prometheus, currently docked at Station Omega-7. Your mission will be deep space reconnaissance in the neutral zone. Alina's joy turned to confusion. The neutral zone was the empty space between Devourer territory and civilized systems. It was where they sent ships that were too valuable to scrap but too obsolete to use for anything important. Sir, with respect, reconnaissance isn't exactly frontline combat. The Prometheus is equipped with the most advanced scanning equipment we can spare, Zextel said, though his tone suggested he was reading from a prepared statement. Your mission is to monitor Devourer movements and report any unusual activity. This is a vital role in our defense strategy. The projection began to flicker, indicating the conversation was over. Alina raised her voice. What kind of ship is the Prometheus? Zextal paused, and she could swear she saw amusement in his alien features. It is a research vessel, Captain, built by the Vorthan Collective approximately 200 years ago. It has been ... extensively modified over the years. The projection cut out, leaving Alina alone in the vast hall with a growing sense of dread. She had requested a frontline battleship and been assigned to a 200-year-old research vessel for a reconnaissance mission in empty space. The message was clear. Humanity was being shelved 2 hours later. Alina stood in the docking bay of Station Omega-7, staring at what was supposedly her new command. The RSV Prometheus looked like it had been assembled from spare parts by someone who had never seen a real starship. Its hull was a patchwork of different metals and alloys, clearly the result of decades of repairs with whatever materials were available. The engines were so old they still used fusion chambers instead of quantum cores. The weapons consisted of 2 particle cannons that belonged in a museum. Well, Captain, she's definitely seen better days, Lieutenant Commander Tom Bradley said as he joined her on the observation deck. Tom was her executive officer, a steady man from Mars Colony who had served with her for 3 years. He had the rare quality of being able to find something positive in any situation, but even he seemed at a loss. Better days would imply she ever had good days to begin with, Alina replied. What's the crew status? Everyone's aboard and as ready as they can be, Tom said. Though I have to say, morale isn't exactly high. Word travels fast about what kind of assignment this really is. Alina understood. Her crew consisted of 12 humans, all of them skilled professionals who had volunteered for combat duty. Instead, they were being sent to patrol empty space in a ship that looked like it might fall apart if someone sneezed too hard. She made her way through the ship's corridors, noting the patches on the walls where hull breaches had been repaired, the flickering lights that suggested failing power systems, and the general atmosphere of neglect that permeated everything. In the science lab, she found Dr. Marcus Chen hunched over a quantum analysis console that looked newer than anything else on the ship. Marcus was their chief science officer, a theoretical physicist who had made significant contributions to understanding consciousness and quantum mechanics. He was also the only person Alina knew who seemed genuinely excited about their assignment. Captain Marcus looked up from his work, his dark eyes bright with enthusiasm. I've been going through the ship's previous mission logs. Do you know what the Prometheus was originally designed for? Please tell me it was something more impressive than what it looks like, Alina said. Consciousness research, Marcus said, and Alina could hear the excitement in his voice. The Vorthan Collective built it to study the relationship between sentient awareness and quantum field fluctuations. The theory was that consciousness itself might be able to influence reality at the subatomic level. Alina frowned. That sounds like fantasy science. The Vorthans thought so too, apparently. The project was abandoned after 50 years of inconclusive results. But Captain, what if they were wrong? What if they just didn't understand what they were looking for? Before Alina could respond, the ship's intercom crackled to life. Captain, to the bridge came the voice of Lieutenant Sarah Kim, their communications officer. We're receiving priority signals from multiple sources. Alina made her way to the bridge, which was slightly more impressive than the rest of the ship, but still looked like something from her grandfather's era. Sarah was bent over her console, her fingers flying across holographic controls as she processed incoming data. What do we have? Alina asked. Long-range sensors are picking up massive energy signatures from the Kepler sector, Sarah reported. It's definitely devourer activity, but the patterns are unlike anything in our database. The signature is ... strange. On the main view screen, a tactical display showed the region of space Sarah was referring to. The Kepler sector was technically within the neutral zone, but it was close enough to inhabited systems to be of concern. The energy readings were indeed unusual, showing spikes and fluctuations that didn't match known devourer technology. Orders, Captain, Tom asked. Alina studied the readings for a long moment. Their mission parameters were clear: monitor and report. They were specifically not authorized to engage or investigate directly. The smart thing would be to send their findings to GDU command and wait for instructions. But something about the energy patterns bothered her. They weren't following any recognizable pattern, almost as if they were searching for something. Set course for the Kepler sector, Alina ordered. Maximum sustainable speed. Captain, Tom said quietly. Our orders were to patrol the outer boundaries and report. We're not supposed to investigate directly. Alina looked around the bridge at her crew. 12 humans who had volunteered for combat duty and been assigned to babysit empty space in a ship held together with determination and spare parts. They deserved better than to be forgotten in the vast emptiness between stars. The energy signatures represent a potential threat to inhabited systems, Alina said. Our duty is to gather intelligence on devourer activities. We can't do that from a distance. The journey to the Kepler sector took 18 hours, during which Alina had time to review everything they knew about the enemy had appeared 20 years ago from the galactic rim, biomechanical entities that consumed matter and energy to replicate themselves. They showed no interest in communication or negotiation, only an endless hunger that had already devoured 6 star systems. Every battle with the devourers followed the same pattern. They would appear in overwhelming numbers, shrugged off conventional weapons, and methodically consume everything in their path. The only defense was to evacuate entire systems and hope the GDU's most advanced warships could slow them down long enough for civilians to escape. Approaching the Kepler sector now, reported Lieutenant Jessica Torres from the navigation station. Alina had served with Jessica for 2 years and trusted her instincts completely. The young woman from Lunar Colony had a gift for spatial navigation that bordered on supernatural. What are the sensors showing? Alina asked. Dr. Chen, who had taken over the science station, looked up from his readings with a puzzled expression. Captain, there are no devourers here. The energy signatures we detected are coming from a planetoid in the system's outer region. It's artificial. The main view screen shifted to show a small, rocky body orbiting at the edge of the system. At first glance, it looked like any other asteroid, but as the sensors focused, Alina could see geometric patterns carved into its surface. The entire planetoid was covered in structures that followed mathematical principles unlike anything she had ever seen. My God, Marcus whispered. Captain, those structures are generating the energy signatures, but the architectural style doesn't match any known civilization in the database. Alina felt a chill run down her spine. An unknown civilization in the neutral zone, generating energy signatures that resembled devourer activity. Either they had stumbled onto something incredibly important, or they were about to become part of a trap. Life signs, she asked. None detected, Dr. Chen reported. But Captain, the structures are still active. Power readings suggest they've been operational for thousands of years. Alina made another decision that would have far-reaching consequences. For humanity and the galaxy, prepare an away team. We're going down there. The shuttle bay of the Prometheus was barely large enough for their single exploration craft. A battered but reliable vessel that had seen action in 3 different star systems. Alina suited up alongside Tom, Marcus, and Lieutenant Torres, while the rest of the crew remained aboard to monitor their mission. The descent to the planetoid surface revealed more details about the mysterious structures. They weren't just buildings, Alina realized, but part of a single massive complex that covered the entire surface. Geometric patterns flowed across every surface, creating optical illusions that made her eyes water when she tried to focus on them. Setting down near what appears to be an entrance, Torres reported as she guided the shuttle toward a depression in the surface that looked artificially smooth. The moment they stepped out of the shuttle, Alina knew they had discovered something extraordinary. The structures around them defied conventional physics, with angles that seemed to exist in more than 3 dimensions and surfaces that reflected light in impossible ways. The air was breathable but filled with a subtle energy that made the hair on her arms stand up. These symbols, Marcus said, running his gloved hand over carved patterns on the nearest wall. They're not just decorative, they're mathematical equations, but using principles I don't recognize. They followed a corridor that led deep into the planetoid's interior, their helmet lights illuminating walls covered in the same incomprehensible mathematics. The deeper they went, the more Alina felt like they were walking through a dream where normal rules didn't apply. At the center of the complex, they found a chamber that took Alina's breath away. The room was spherical, with no clear floor or ceiling, and every surface was covered in crystalline formations that pulsed with soft light. In the center of the chamber floated a structure that looked like it had been grown rather than built, a complex arrangement of organic curves and geometric precision. "Captain," Marcus's voice was filled with wonder. "I think this is some kind of quantum consciousness interface. The mathematics on the walls describe relationships between conscious thought and physical reality. This entire complex is designed to amplify and focus mental energy." Alina approached the central structure cautiously. As she got closer, the crystalline formations began to pulse faster, and she could swear she heard something like music in the air around her. "Dr. Chen, are you reading this?" Torres's voice came through the comm system from the shuttle. "Reading what?" Marcus replied. "The entire planetoid just lit up like a Christmas tree. Every structure is showing massive energy spikes. It's like the whole place just woke up." Alina looked around the chamber and realized that Marcus was right. The ancient complex was responding to their presence, specifically to their human consciousness. Whatever civilization had built this place, they had created something that reacted to the chaotic, creative nature of human thought. "We need to get back to the ship," Alina said, but even as she spoke, she knew it was too late. The chamber around them was filling with light, and she could feel something vast and ancient stirring to awareness as they made their way back through the corridors. Alina realized that this discovery would change everything. They had been sent to patrol empty space in a broken-down research vessel, but instead they had found technology that could revolutionize humanity's understanding of consciousness and reality itself. The question was, what were they going to do with it? The reality engine awakens. The return journey to the Prometheus took on an urgent quality as energy readings from the ancient complex continued to spike. Alina watched through the shuttle's viewports as geometric patterns of light began racing across the planetoid's surface, creating a display that was both beautiful and deeply unsettling. The entire celestial body was transforming before their eyes, revealing technology that had been dormant for millennia. "Captain, we're receiving an automated message on all frequencies." Lieutenant Kim's voice crackled through the shuttles. "Come." "System, it's in human standard English." Alina felt her blood turn cold. "That's impossible. No one else knows we're here." Dr. Chen looked up from his portable analysis equipment, his face pale. "Captain, the quantum resonance patterns I'm detecting suggest the complex didn't just wake up when we arrived. It learned about us. It absorbed information about human language, culture, and technology directly from our minds during the few minutes we were in that chamber." The shuttle docked with the Prometheus, and Alina rushed to the bridge, where her crew was staring at the main view screen in stunned silence. Floating in space above the planetoid was a holographic message in perfect English script. "Welcome, consciousness shapers. The trial begins now." "Trial?" Alina asked. But before anyone could speculate, the ship's sensors began screaming warnings. "Captain, massive energy signatures approaching from the galactic rim," Torres reported from her station. "Multiple contacts, biomechanical configuration, It's a devourer fleet, larger than anything on record. The tactical display showed dozens of red dots converging on their position. Alina had seen intelligence reports on devourer fleets before, but this formation was different. Instead of the usual chaotic swarm pattern, these entities were moving with purpose and coordination. They're not just wandering, Tom observed grimly. They're responding to the energy signatures from the planetoid. Whatever that place is, it's calling them here. Dr. Chen was working frantically at his station, downloading data from the planetoid's surface. Captain, I'm getting massive information downloads from the complex. It's teaching me how its technology works. The builders called themselves the architects, and they didn't disappear. They transcended physical form by merging their consciousness with quantum reality itself. That's fascinating, Doctor, but we have immediate problems, Alina said, watching the approaching devourer fleet. How long until they reach us? 4 hours at their current speed, Torres replied. Captain, we need to run. The Prometheus isn't equipped for combat against even a single devourer, let alone an entire fleet. Alina looked around the bridge at her crew, 12 humans who had volunteered for combat duty and been given the weakest ship in the fleet. They were about to face an enemy that had consumed entire star systems, and their only weapons were museum pieces. But something Marcus had said stuck in her mind. Consciousness shapers. The architects hadn't built that complex as a monument or a research facility. They had built it as a test. Dr. Chen, how much of the architect technology do you understand? Marcus looked up from his frantically scrolling data feeds. Not much, but I'm learning fast. Captain, the complex isn't just responding to our presence. It's trying to interface with our minds, to teach us how to use consciousness as a tool for manipulating physical reality. But the process requires voluntary participation from the entire crew. Explain voluntary participation, Alina said. We would need to link our minds with the ship's systems and with each other. It would temporarily merge our consciousness with the architect technology. We would still be human, but we would also be something more. Something that could rewrite the basic laws of physics through focused thought. Alina felt the weight of command settle on her shoulders. The Devourer fleet was approaching, and they had no conventional means of defense. But they had discovered technology that might be humanity's greatest advantage in the galaxy. The chaotic, creative nature of human consciousness that other species found so unpredictable. What are the risks? She asked. Unknown, Marcus admitted. The architects transcended physical form entirely. We might lose ourselves in the process, or we might emerge as something beyond human comprehension. There's no way to predict the outcome. Alina looked around the bridge at her crew. Tom's steady presence at her side, Torres's brilliant navigation skills, Kim's communication expertise. Every person on this ship had volunteered for combat duty because they believed humanity deserved a place among the stars. All hands, this is the captain, Alina announced over the ship's communication system. Report to the bridge immediately. Within minutes, all 12 crew members were gathered in the cramped bridge space. Alina could see the fear in their eyes, but also the determination that had brought them all into space service. People, we have a situation, Alina began. In 3 hours, we're going to be facing the largest Devourer fleet ever recorded. Our conventional weapons are useless against them. But we've discovered technology that might give us a fighting chance. She explained what Dr. Chen had learned about the architect complex and the consciousness interface technology. When she finished, the bridge was silent, except for the hum of the ship's systems. Ma'am, Lieutenant Rodriguez spoke up from the engineering station. Are you saying we have to merge our minds with alien technology to survive? I'm saying we have the opportunity to become something the galaxy has never seen before, Alina replied. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our unpredictability, our ability to find solutions that more logical species would never consider. This technology was designed for minds like ours. Dr. Chen activated the holographic display, showing the approaching Devourer fleet. If we don't try, we die anyway. But if we succeed, we might discover capabilities that could change the balance of power in the galaxy. Alina looked each crew member in the eye. This has to be unanimous. We all participate, or no one does. I won't order anyone to risk their consciousness for an experiment. One by one, each crew member nodded their agreement. These were people who had volunteered for combat duty, knowing they might not survive. The risk of losing themselves in alien technology was just another challenge to overcome. Dr. Chen, begin the interface process, Alina ordered. The next hour was unlike anything Alina had ever experienced. Dr. Chen worked with the architect, technology to establish quantum entanglement, links between the ship's systems and each crew member's neural patterns. The process was gradual, allowing them to maintain their individual personalities while slowly expanding their awareness beyond the normal boundaries of human consciousness. Alina felt her mind expanding, touching the consciousness of her crew, members, and feeling their thoughts and emotions as if they were her own. Tom's steady calm became a foundation for the entire group. Torres's spatial awareness expanded to encompass 11 dimensions. Kim's communication skills allowed them to share thoughts faster than speech. But it was Dr. Chun's scientific understanding that showed them how to use their merged consciousness to manipulate quantum fields directly. The Prometheus began to change around them, its hull taking on configurations that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The ancient engines were replaced by systems that drew power directly from the quantum vacuum. Weapons systems emerged that fired concentrated mathematics instead of energy bolts. Contact in 30 minutes, Torres announced, but her voice now carried harmonics that existed beyond normal sound. Alina looked through the ship's sensors, which could now perceive reality across multiple dimensional layers. The Devourer fleet was massive, hundreds of biomechanical entities the size of space stations. Each one was capable of consuming matter and converting it into more. Their approach was methodical and inevitable. But Alina was no longer just a human starship captain. She was part of something unprecedented, a collective consciousness that could rewrite the fundamental laws of physics through focused intention. All stations, prepare for consciousness combat, Alina ordered, and her crew understood immediately what she meant. The first Devourer to enter weapons range was a creature the size of a city, its biomechanical hull covered in sensory organs that could detect energy signatures across a dozen spectra. It moved with predatory grace, confident in its invulnerability to conventional weapons. Alina and her crew focused their merged consciousness on a single concept. The mathematical relationship between energy and matter was not fixed. They imagined the space around the Devourer becoming unstable, reality itself becoming flexible and responsive to their will. The effect was immediate and devastating. The space around the lead Devourer began to ripple like water, and the creature found itself existing in multiple dimensions simultaneously. Its biomechanical systems, designed for three-dimensional reality, couldn't cope with the sudden expansion into 11-dimensional space. The entity simply came apart, its matter scattering across dimensional boundaries. The rest of the Devourer fleet paused, their simple intelligence struggling to comprehend what had just happened. Alina felt a moment of satisfaction, but she knew this was just the beginning. Full engagement, Alina commanded, and the Prometheus became something that defied description. The ship moved through space in ways that violated every known law of physics, appearing in multiple locations simultaneously while firing weapons that rewrote the quantum structure of their targets. Alina and her crew fought as a single entity, their human creativity and unpredictability amplified by architect technology into something the universe had never seen. Devourers that had consumed entire star systems found themselves unable to process matter that existed in 11 dimensions. Their feeding mechanisms, designed for conventional physics, became liabilities when faced with reality that could be rewritten by conscious intention. One by one, the biomechanical horrors were either destroyed or scattered across dimensional boundaries they couldn't comprehend. The battle lasted 6 hours, though time itself became fluid under the influence of consciousness-driven physics. When it was over, the Devourer fleet had been completely eliminated, and the Prometheus hung in space, surrounded by quantum distortions that would puzzle scientists for decades. "Status report," Alina said, gradually separating her consciousness from the merged state while maintaining the technological links. "All crew members present and accounted for," Tom reported. "Ship systems are, well, they're not anything that appears in the manual, but they're functioning perfectly." Dr. Chen was analyzing the battle data, his enhanced consciousness processing information at superhuman speeds. "Captain, we didn't just defeat the Devourers. We demonstrated capabilities that the Galactic Defense Union didn't know were possible. Every sensor in 3 sectors recorded what we did." Alina understood the implications immediately. Humanity had been relegated to second-class status in the galactic community, given obsolete equipment and pointless assignments. But in a few hours, they had transformed themselves into something that could rewrite the laws of physics and defeat enemies that had terrorized the galaxy for decades. "Communications, open a channel to GDU Command," Alina ordered. Lieutenant Kim worked with systems that now operated on principles beyond conventional technology. "Channel open, Captain. We're being hailed by, well, everyone. The entire GDU fleet is requesting immediate contact." Alina smiled as she looked around the bridge at her crew. They were still human, but they were also something more. They had taken the weakest ship in the fleet and turned it into a weapon that could reshape reality itself. "This is Captain Alina Vasquez of the RSV Prometheus," she announced to the galaxy. "Humanity is ready to take its place as a full partner in the Galactic Defense Union, and we're bringing capabilities that you've never seen before." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Every species in the GDU wanted to understand how humans had achieved the impossible. The same aliens who had dismissed humanity as too chaotic and unpredictable were now desperate to learn from the consciousness-shaping abilities that chaos had made possible. Alina looked out at the stars and realized that humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. They had been given junk and turned it into a reality-bending weapon. Now they would show the galaxy what human consciousness could accomplish when it was no longer constrained by the limitations other species took for granted. The age of human supremacy in the galaxy had begun, not through conquest or domination, but through the simple recognition that consciousness itself was the ultimate technology, and humans, with their chaotic, creative, endlessly surprising minds, were the best consciousness shapers the universe had ever seen.